Pittsburgh State's Department of Health, Human Performance, and Recreation presents In Practice, a podcast that puts the student at the center of our conversations as we explore topics throughout the world of sport, exercise science, recreation, hospitality, physical education, and wellness. This week, we're privileged to have Dr. Janice Jewett and undergraduate students Allie Johnston and Trent Thompson join us to discuss the Kansas Recreation and Park Association's annual conference, including their biggest takeaways for future attendees. Whether you're an experienced conference goer or a fellow student looking to explore your options for professional development, this episode is sure to have something for you. Thanks for tuning in. Let's start the show. All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the second episode of HHPR's In Practice. This week, we're going to be discussing the annual Kansas Recreation and Park Association annual conference. Just got back from that, January 19th through the 21st in Manhattan, Kansas. We have with us Dr. Janice Jewett. We have Allie Johnston and Trent Thompson, two of our students that attended as well. Before we really dive into the student experiences at the conference, I want to kind of introduce everybody, get us familiar with KRPA itself. So, Dr. Jewett, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about your experience with KRPA.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for that. I am a professor here at Pittsburgh State University, and I have taught here since 1994. Actually did a short stint before that as a graduate assistant here, and then also as an instructor here. So I've been at Pittsburgh State for over 28 years this last run. And I've been involved with KRPA pretty much since 1986. So that's a long time ago. And that was actually my first rec job with the Newton Recreation Commission. I went and was a recreation program director there, recreation center director, actually. And I got involved with KRPA. That was my first year with the conference. And then after that, I went on to the Missouri Parks and Rec side of things and got involved with MRPA on their side, and then came back to Pittsburgh and was with the Parks and Rec for a while here in Pittsburgh as their director. And that really started my long stint with KRPA, starting in 1990. So I've been involved with that association for, I guess, over 30 years, and been on their board as an at-large member, an elected at-large member for several years, and then also more recently as an appointed member. So.
Excellent. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Allie, tell us about yourself.
I am a transfer student. I am super senior, majoring in sport and recreation management with a minor in natural history. I decided to come to Pitt State just because the tuition itself was a lot more affordable for me and the classes were amazing.
Excellent. Trent, what about you, my friend?
Thank you, Dr. Hutchins, for this. My name's Trent Thompson, and I'm a sophomore. I graduated from Webb City, Missouri, and I'm a rec major as well with a natural history and biology.
Cool. And Allie, why is it that you wanted to attend KRPA?
I love conferences in general. I heard from Dr. Hardy how amazing this conference is, and just getting to know everyone in the recreation field is why I wanted to go. Okay.
Trent, what about you?
I'm kind of similar. A lot of the rec professors really inspired me to go there, and I also saw that there was going to be several things that will help me in my future career.
Like what? What are some examples before we get too deep into it today?
Some examples are like a traffic stop for game wardens or conservation comps, learning the environment that I'll be possibly working in, and just how I can do those things and lower conflict down.
Gotcha. So then it sounds like KRPA is kind of a broad amalgam of different subjects and contexts in which recreation professionals work. So Dr. Jewett, can you tell us a little bit more about the conference itself? what the purpose of the conference is, maybe some unique elements to the conference. I think Trent just alluded to a few right there, but kind of give us a gist of what KRPA is.
Sure. So KRPA itself is a professional organization. It's nonprofit. There's over 1,300 members, and throughout the state of Kansas, it promotes recreation and park opportunities throughout the state of Kansas through educational opportunities, advocacy for Parks and Rec, and just communication, letting people know that Parks and Rec is a great thing, and we want to do everything we can in the state of Kansas to promote that. So that's what KRPA does. And they do a lot of educational sessions throughout the year, a lot of certifications and things, but every year they host this annual conference. Next year is their 75th anniversary, so that's pretty cool. And that'll be in Overland Park. So Allie and Trent, put that on your calendar. You love conferences, you'll want to be there.
Yes.
So anyway, it's at the conference, you can expect a student summit, which is our young professionals putting on or hosting that particular event, which is really cool. It's just geared to students from any college or university in the state of Kansas. We were well represented from Pittsburgh State. We had by far the majority at this particular one, but anyway, usually students come from all over the state, and the young professionals host that conference session. And as you guys know, they talk about opportunities in the field. They talk about maybe how they got started. They offer internship opportunities and things like that. And I'll let you guys allude to that here in a minute. But then after that, there's several sessions. There's an opening general session. Some of the topics are very broad. So it'll be like promoting the profession, or change is good, embracing change, how to ignite your passion, and things like that, that everybody can usually use. And then there'll be very specific ones like Trenton. I went through and wrote down some interesting ones to me. And one of them was traffic stops and vehicle searches. All right. So that's one that I noted. There was one on disc golf, one on Dr. Hutchins, how to use a podcast to connect with your community. So we're doing good things here. Designing public spaces to promote intergenerational play. I mean, there's just all sorts of things. Pickleball league and tournament. I mean, you name it. Recreation and park professionals, they wear all sorts of hats and do all sorts of things. So that's what you'll find. It's hard to pick sometimes what session you're going to go to, because there'll be 8 of these different topics offered at once, and you'll be like, should I go to grant writing, or should I go find out about pickleball? So.
Yeah, and I think KRPA really provides our students and our students. I mean, we have 2 great examples here, but our students have a very broad range of interests across our program. So the fact that KRPA is so diverse in its offerings and is so diverse in the types of sessions and the topics of these sessions, you can be sure to find something that interests you, no matter what your particular interest, whether it be in recreation or sport. I went to a great session on adaptive sports. So therapeutic recreation even was represented at KRPA. So a vast array of opportunities to engage with professionals in your specific niche within parks and recreation, within sport, within therapeutic recreation. So really, really great opportunity for our students. And with that, let's turn it to our students. I want to not necessarily go back a little bit, but Allie, what is your ideal career after graduation? And we'll go from there with the sessions you attended and so on and so forth.
So I really want to go into outdoor education. I have actually previously applied for an assistant director summer program director at Lacing Wildwood Outdoor Education Center, and that's pretty much my route. I would love to do summer programming at camps.
Okay. So for I mean, I'm guessing summer camps, kid, what age group?
So they're typically going to be 7 to 16 years old.
Okay. So pretty broad range of ages then. So then what were some of the sessions that you chose to attend? Were you able to identify any beforehand? I know Dr. Jewett read off a list there. And a lot of these were published online on KRPA's website beforehand. Were you able to go online and check that out beforehand? And if so, which ones did you pick?
So they had a pretty good listing. They didn't change much within their first posting of the list. I went to quite a few. My favorite one, though, was the Get Outside and Play. And there were 3 presenters in that one. And they explained all their different kind of summer programs that they put in their town. One of them was an outdoor camp night within the community. So the whole entire town was invited. And then another one was in Maze, and they had a nature programming that they did in their town. And they just had, I think it was just elementary school that they had invited there.
Gotcha. Trent, what about you? I think you've alluded to it already. You sounds like you're on the game warden path here, and that's certainly a unique niche within our program. We certainly see quite a few students funneling into. What were some of the sessions that you identified and attended at KRPA?
Like I said before, it was the traffic stop one. Really, the reason why I stopped there is because a lot of game wardens don't understand how to do a traffic stop, and they don't know how to handle situations like that. So I think getting into knowing that beforehand would give me an edge. And then also I went to one that really talked about trees and the environment. So especially around these parts of excuse me, of the nation, and also would give me a step up into the role that I want to become, because it's a hard thing to get into after college.
Absolutely. And Dr. Jewett, I want to come back to you. As someone who has attended KRPA for as long as you have, and having the experience with KRPA that you have, do you see the same kind of presentations year after year, or do you find yourself gravitating towards certain types of sessions more than others? What are the things that are interesting you this far into your time attending KRPA?
All right. So I would say that definitely the topics change.
How so?
Well, the trends change, the focus changes. The pandemic is one example, but it can be anything. It can be wages, like Dr. Hutchins, you and I presented on that, but it can also be governmental mandates that impact our programs and our services. It can be environmental issues, it can be all sorts of things. And I think those topics definitely change over the years. And then there'll be some of the others that maybe maintain, that are just about maybe inclusion, maybe along the lines of staying engaged in your profession, staying excited about it. So there'll be some topics maybe that are motivational, and then there'll be other topics that are pretty serious, and then there'll be topics that are the how-tos. How to do this if you want to try to write a grant. What are the steps to do it?
Gotcha. And what topics do you find yourself being drawn to year after year? Do you have a lane every year that you stick to, or what's your take on your selection of topics?
But personally, my selection will vary. It'll be based on what I'm teaching that semester, or what I think might be helpful to me and my students in the classroom. So it might be, like, for example, my finance and marketing of recreation sports services for my graduate students, looking at things that impact them. So the grant writing was one that I attended because I can relate that information directly to them and share with them. Others will just be maybe personal interest that's kind of intriguing to me. So I went to the river one, about rivers and open spaces and access to them in the state of Kansas. Those are just interesting to me, and personally. So
yeah, that's awesome. And I similarly, the sessions that I attended, I'm teaching therapeutic rec for the first time this semester. So I was trying to get as much insight into therapeutic rec, and I attended a great session hosted by Dr. Melissa Burns out of the adaptive sports program with the whole person out of Kansas City. So super beneficial session, super insightful. And again, providing more context for the things that we're teaching in the classroom, right? Providing more real world context, more substantive information for our students that they can take and go apply and go see and have that hands-on experience with. So very cool, very cool. All right, so to everyone now, I'll direct it one at a time, but to everyone, what was the most beneficial session you attended, and what was, I guess, the biggest takeaway you had from that session? Trent, we'll go back to you.
Probably the biggest session that I was most into was the main one. It was about passion and keeping passion for your job, and how'd you bring passion back if you lost it.
And what was your biggest takeaway from that? What'd you get out of that session?
The biggest takeaway I got from that was, even though like things can go wrong in life and jobs can get tough at times, you chose that thing for a reason. You chose that path for a reason, and you just got to find it back.
It's something easier said than done, right? I'm sure we've all been there at one point or another in our academic careers or otherwise, that feel like you're running your head into a brick wall. But good. I'm glad that was insightful, and I'm glad the conference was beneficial for you. Dr. Jewett, what was your favorite session?
Well, I would agree with Trent. That was my favorite session, just because it is the kickoff session. It's the opening keynote speaker. He's very motivational. He had quite a story to tell, touched my heart, and just reminded me why I'm in this profession, and just brings an extra little spark, I guess. And then my second favorite was the grant writing one.
Really? The grant writing one was number 2.
Yeah.
Took that class in grad school. Still have nightmares about it. But no, Dr. Gorman at Arkansas was fantastic. I'm just joking. So not to get too deep, Dr. Jewett, but what is it that you love about this profession?
I guess for me personally, it's providing programs and services to individuals and families. And I've always personally enjoyed putting on special events that affect a lot of people, and especially the family unit. So that's what brings me the greatest passion of this profession.
Awesome. All right, Allie, lay it on us. What was your favorite session? What'd you get out of it?
I also love the passion, but the gender identity was my favorite. They really knocked down all the different definitions that we need to learn, what not to say, what to say, when to ask it. And I think going into summer programs, you really need to know how to approach people.
Excellent. So I guess the conference in general, what was everybody's favorite thing about it? I know we talked about the specific sessions, but what about the conference as a whole? What was your favorite thing about it? Let's start with, mix it up. Dr. Jewett.
Well, I really enjoyed meeting some of the students that I haven't had in class before. And so that was really cool. So sometimes you have to get out of the normal spot that you work in and connect with people outside, even though they're right here in your own backyard. So that was really cool. Allie and I did a painting session together. That was fun, one of the socials. So, and Trenton, when I walked in, and I'm just like, oh, are you Trenton? I hadn't met him before. So that was really cool. So, and I've been doing this for a while. And so one of the cool things too, is just seeing professionals that have been in the profession a long time as well. And we just kind of reconnect every year at that conference. And that's really fun. And then plus you get to meet new people.
Yeah. Awesome. Allie?
I had originally lived in Manhattan, so just being back in Manhattan was a highlight. But yes, painting is also amazing. That was a very fun night. I wish that Pitt State could have had more students and we joined the Olympics. That was one thing that we could have competed and won for sure.
Good. Well, we'll use this as PR to get more students involved next year, especially with this last question. All right, Trent, what was your favorite thing about the conference as a whole?
My favorite thing really was, of course, meeting all the different students and listening to what they want to do in their professions. But the other thing is in the hallways, you got to meet a lot of more people and a lot of more programs and things like that. For me, I met the Kansas Wildlife Conservation officers that went to the traffic stop, and they actually gave me a lot more insight than I was expecting to receive that day about that profession.
Good, good. So what kind of insight did they provide you with that you might not have had access to otherwise?
The main thing was getting on and getting connected with the local conservation people, and then also tell me what I need to try to achieve in school and what I need to prepare for after college and trying to get into the academy.
Awesome. Yeah, we have a few students along that track. I can get you in contact with them if you ever are curious, but I've got one that is interning with KPWD right now. So I can get you his contact information if you're curious about that. Okay, so last question, best for last. We want more students to attend. Allie wants more students to attend so we can win the Olympics next time. That's the goal. We're Pitt State. We're here to win. All right. So, and this might turn into a two-parter. We'll see. What advice do you have for students who are interested or hoping to attend next year's conference? And what would you say to convince them to attend KRPA instead of another conference? Allie, we'll start with you.
Okay. This really is an opportunity to meet a future employer. There are so many different companies that go. There's Parks and Rec departments. There's the wildlife departments. There was another company that I really wanted to meet again, but there's aquatics, there's sports, there's adults, there's youth, there's everything that you could possibly imagine. And if there's that one internship that really changes your career path, that's an opportunity too.
Excellent. All right, Trent, what would your advice be to students who hope to attend KRPA in the years to come?
My advice would probably just be to go. Like you're never, like me, I never knew what to expect. It was my first conference to ever be to, and even though it was my first one, I found out a lot more. Even like they told me more about places around me than I even thought there was.
Yeah, awesome. And last but not least, Dr. Jewett, you've seen students go through this process for quite a few years now, right? You've seen them either take advantage or not take advantage of this opportunity, as Allie and Trent have alluded to. What advice would you give to students who are interested in attending KRPA?
I would say get it on your calendar. Next year it's January 31st through February 2nd, 2023. And don't be afraid to miss class. You can talk to your professors here. Most of us are usually there doing the same thing that you're doing. So it's not a bad thing. We know that some of your best educational connections happen outside of the classroom at things like this, and you get professional conference credit for attending. So make it a priority to go.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for hanging out a little bit on this Thursday evening. Does anybody have anything they want to add in particular about KRPA or your experiences there?
My hotel room was paid for.
Yeah. So that's another great benefit. Yeah, it's another great benefit. If you are interested in attending, if you are a student here with Pitt State, so there's incentive to be a Pitt State student first. But if you are interested in attending, we can help you out with your hotel costs, maybe even some of your other travel expenditures. So it's a really, really good opportunity based on everything saw everything I went to. This was my first year at KRPA too, of course. But it seems like a really beneficial experience for a lot of our students. It seems like a great way to make those connections, as are most conferences. But I think KRPA is such a tight-knit group that you're able to have those conversations kind of as Trent and Allie alluded to on a little bit deeper level than you might be able to have at a national conference, right? So excellent. Well, thanks again, everybody, for joining us. We will get this podcast edited and uploaded. I really appreciate everybody's time. Thanks again for answering all the questions. Thanks again for preparing for this. And thanks again for making time at 7:30 on a Thursday. So y'all have a good weekend. I will see you all on Tuesday.